Why would a queen, one with access to castles, crowns, and centuries of royal comfort, choose to hold on to a modest countryside retreat? Nestled quietly in Wiltshire, Raymill House isn't just Queen Camilla's former home. It's her sanctuary, a place untouched by protocol, where whispers of her past still echo in every brick. Today, we'll open the gates to Raymill and Clarence House, two homes, two worlds, and uncover the private life of a woman who never expected to wear the crown, but now wears it with quiet power. What kind of childhood creates a queen? For Camilla Rosemary Shand, the answer lies somewhere between the pages of an Enid Blyton novel and the whispers of royal blood. Born on July 17, 1947, in London's King's College Hospital, she arrived into a world of privilege, wrapped in quiet country charm. Her parents, Major Bruce Shand, a decorated war hero turned wine merchant, and Rosalind, daughter of the 3rd Baron Ashcombe, were upper class but unpretentious. Their home in East Sussex, the Lanes, was filled with dogs, ponies, bookcases, and laughter. As a child, Camilla wasn't just spirited, she was luminous. Her father read aloud to her endlessly, nurturing a lifelong passion for books. She adored horses, joined the pony club, and won medals in gymkhana competitions. Family friends remember her bounding through fields and streams, equal parts tomboy and aristocrat. But Camilla wasn't just an ordinary country girl. Her great-grandmother, Alice Keppel, had been the famous mistress of King Edward VII. Royalty, it seems, had always been lingering in the shadows of her bloodline. By 10, she was enrolled at Queen's Gate School in London, a posh but progressive institution. Her classmates included future pop star Twinkle, who once described Camilla as having a magnetic self-confidence. Even her French teacher, the future Booker Prize-winning author Penelope Fitzgerald, recalled her as bright and sharp-witted. So how did a girl with such flair and social pedigree stay out of the spotlight? After finishing school in Switzerland and studying French literature in Paris, Camilla moved into a modest London flat. She worked as a secretary, got fired for arriving late after a dance, and lived with aristocratic roommates in Belgravia. She was smart, mischievous, and endlessly charming. And in 1970, at a polo match in Windsor Great Park, she met a man who would change everything, Prince Charles. What followed was a love story not meant for fairy tales. The chemistry was instant. They shared a love for horses, the countryside, and literature. But timing, as it often is in royal life, was cruel. Charles was sent away by the Navy, and Camilla, viewed by the palace as not aristocratic enough, married her former flame, Andrew Parker Bowles, in 1973. For years, they each lived separate lives, airs and heartbreaks, official duties, and quiet longings. Camilla had 2 children, Tom and Laura, and retreated into a life of domestic stability at Raymill House in Wiltshire. But the bond with Charles never truly faded. In fact, it endured the press, the scandal, the heartbreak, and eventually, the death of Princess Diana. So how did the most controversial woman in Britain become its queen? Slowly, carefully, relentlessly. In 2005, after decades of being vilified by tabloids and whispered about in drawing rooms, Camilla and Charles were married in a quiet civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall. The Queen did not attend the wedding, but hosted the reception. It was a compromise, one shaped by tradition, modernity, and endurance. The wedding ring Camilla received? A family heirloom once worn by Charles's grandmother. From that moment on, everything changed. She became the Duchess of Cornwall. She took on public duties. She built a new image, not by erasing the past, but by embracing it with dignity. Her warmth in public, her natural ease in conversation, and her tireless work for charity slowly turned the tide of public opinion. And when Queen Elizabeth II passed in 2022, Camilla stepped into history, not as the outsider many once labeled her, but as Queen Consort of the United Kingdom. Not bad for a woman who once preferred horses to headlines. But even as she embraced her royal role, Camilla never let go of her identity. Her roots in Sussex, her private life at Raymill House, and her love of animals, books, and garden soil remained untouched. Perhaps that's what makes her reign unique, because while the crown sits on her head, her heart still wanders through wildflowers. So where does the queen retreat when she needs to breathe? Where does she go when palace walls feel too tight? To answer that, we must step into the one place that still belongs to Camilla alone, Ray Mill House. Ray Mill House. What if you could hold on to one corner of your old life while the rest of the world sees you as royalty? For Queen Camilla, that sacred corner is Ray Mill House. Nestled gently within the rolling hills of Wiltshire, about 100 miles west of London, Ray Mill is the kind of English country home that feels like it belongs in a Jane Austen novel. Quiet, reserved, and utterly private. Camilla purchased the house in the mid-1990s, shortly after her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles. At the time, she wasn't a duchess. She wasn't a queen. She was simply Camilla, newly single, publicly scorned, and desperately in need of a home that was hers alone. And what a home she chose. From the moment you pass through the discreet gates and wind down the gravel path, Ray Mill feels like a secret kept from the world. It's not massive, not palatial, but it hums with warmth. The exterior is a classic cream-colored facade, covered in ivy, framed by manicured hedges and flowering vines. Step beyond the threshold, and a world of elegance reveals itself. The kitchen is the heart of the home, a sunny space with yellow walls, red tiles, and green stone flooring. There's a rustic wooden round table in the center, where one imagines Camilla enjoying her morning tea. Against the far wall stands a black, traditional AGA stove, the kind that heats the room as it cooks. Above it, a chimney-fed hood, and cabinets in white with wooden countertops complete the charming scene. Just beyond is the formal dining room. Here, Baroque-inspired cream and white wallpaper wraps the walls, and the floors are covered in soft beige carpet. A long wooden dining table stretches beneath a grand chandelier. Two large oil paintings in ornate gold frames hang on either end of the room, adding a sense of history to every meal. Then there's the drawing room, or what Camilla lovingly calls her cozy room. This is where the queen retreats for warmth and stillness. One wall is fully clad in vertical wood panels, giving the space a cabin-like intimacy. A large stone fireplace anchors the room, above which hangs an oversized painting. A wooden rocking chair rests in the corner beside a built-in bookshelf stacked with ornaments, photos, and dog figurines. But Ray Mill's real magic lies not just in its rooms, but in its rhythm. The living room opens onto sweeping views of the estate's vast gardens. Towering windows stretch from floor to ceiling, letting sunlight flood the space. The ceilings are high, and intricately carved alcoves lead to arched entryways. Everything whispers of quiet refinement. Head upstairs, and you'll find the bedrooms. Calm, neutral, and unmistakably personal. One room features a tufted headboard in ivory and cream. Two golden-framed artworks hang beside it. Cream carpets stretch across the floor, and sliding windows framed in heavy crimson curtains overlook the surrounding countryside. A solid oak dresser sits in the corner, its drawers full of time-worn keepsakes. The hallway upstairs is another masterstroke in design. It's carpeted in soft beige, with crisp white walls, a black iron railing, and ornate moldings. Two chandeliers hang overhead, casting golden light across the corridor. A curving bay window greets guests with soft green and ivory drapes, opening onto a concrete balcony with views of the estate's pond and pastures. But beyond the bricks and beams, Ray Mill is about freedom. Here, Camilla can wear jeans and muddy boots. She can garden, walk the dogs, read by the fire, or paint quietly in the sunroom without photographers lurking nearby. It's where her grandchildren play on the lawn, where the sounds of press and politics disappear, replaced by birdsong and rustling leaves. It's no wonder her daughter, Laura Lopes, chose to host her wedding reception here in 2006. The estate, after all, is not just a home, it's a refuge. Valued at over $1 million, Ray Mill House is not grand by royal standards. But for Camilla, it's priceless. It's the last vestige of life before the crown. And despite becoming queen, she's never let it go, because even a queen needs a place where she can just be. But what happens when duty calls? When the crown demands its presence and the country looks to its royal figurehead? Then it's time to leave the country escape behind and return to London's grandeur. And so, our next stop takes us inside her regal official residence, Clarence House. Clarence House. From the peaceful gardens of Ray Mill, we now step into a very different world. Clarence House, elegant, commanding, and deeply historic. Located just off the Mall in central London, the stately residence has stood since 1827. Designed by John Nash, the same visionary behind Buckingham Palace, Clarence House is far more than a building. It is a cornerstone of the monarchy, a house where history breathes through every wall and where modern royalty continues to evolve. But what makes it truly fascinating is how personal it feels. This was once the beloved home of the Queen Mother for nearly 5 decades. After her passing in 2002, the house underwent gentle refurbishments and was passed down to then Prince Charles. Since 2003, it has served as the official London residence of Charles and Camilla, and continues to be their working royal hub, even after ascending the throne. So what lies behind those pale stone walls? Step through the entrance, and you're greeted not by gold and marble, but by warmth. Clarence House has always reflected its residents, not cold grandeur, but quiet authority. Each room has been shaped by the personalities who lived here. Take the garden room, for instance. Flooded with natural light, this space blends royal heritage with personal memory. On one French-style writing desk rests The Animals Entering Noah's Ark, a painting by Leandro Bassano. Nearby stands a bust of the late Queen Mother, sculpted by Arthur Walker when she was still the Duchess of York. Photographs of Charles and Camilla, their children and grandchildren, rest on side tables, framed snapshots of a private life still unfolding behind royal curtains. It's not just a residence, it's a canvas. Every hallway, every corner is adorned with a carefully curated mix of antique furniture, tapestries, and fine art. But look closer, and you'll see a framed childhood drawing from Prince Harry, a handmade craft from one of Camilla's grandchildren, a favorite dog's portrait tucked beside a royal family tree. Even the color palette tells a story. Soft creams and pastels dominate the drawing rooms. Deep reds and royal blues line the halls. Floral arrangements are always fresh, and many are hand-picked from Highgrove or Ray Mill itself. Camilla is known to add her own touch, whether it's rearranging a vase or placing a new book in the library. But don't let the charm fool you. Clarence House is also a command center. This is where high-level diplomatic meetings are held, where Commonwealth dignitaries are received, and where charities and organizations come to present their missions to the Queen and King. The staff here work under tight schedules, coordinating everything from formal receptions to handwritten thank you notes. It's the headquarters of a modern monarchy, with afternoon tea served at 4. When Camilla assumed the role of Queen Consort, Clarence House transformed again. Her signature now graces the stationery. Her voice helps shape the tone of many public engagements. And though Buckingham Palace remains the epicenter of state affairs, Clarence House is where personal influence begins. Unlike Ray Mill, you won't find a rocking chair in the corner or muddy boots by the door, but you will find legacy, a royal thread that connects the Queen Mother to Charles and Camilla, a home that bridges generations while adapting to the present. And for Camilla, it's where duty lives, where she wears the crown not just on her head, but in every carefully worded letter, every diplomatic smile, every act of quiet strength. So while Ray Mill is where her soul breathes, Clarence House is where her title speaks. And what about the journeys between these two worlds? How does the Queen move, both literally and figuratively, from private escape to royal stage? Let's step into her garage and explore the wheels that carry Queen Camilla across this extraordinary double life. Cars. If homes are where we find peace, then cars are where we find freedom. For Queen Camilla, her car collection isn't about showing off horsepower or parading luxury brands. It's about history, comfort, and quiet elegance. Each vehicle she's owned tells a different story, from young womanhood to royal life, from countryside weekends to red carpet engagements. Let's open the garage doors and take a closer look. MGTD. Before the titles and tiaras, there was Camilla, spirited, independent, and always up for an adventure. Her MGTD, a classic two-seater roadster from the 1950s, fit her like a glove. With its chrome bumpers, wire wheels, and leather seats, this car wasn't about speed. It was about romance, the kind you see in old British films. This was the car she was often spotted in during her early 20s, driving through country lanes with wind in her hair and maybe, just maybe, a young officer in the passenger seat. The MGTD wasn't flashy, it was free-spirited, much like Camilla herself back then. Lincoln Town Car. Fast forward to her years of public life, and Camilla needed something sturdier, something more diplomatic. Enter the Lincoln Town Car. A symbol of American prestige, the Lincoln offered royal-level comfort with a stretched limousine silhouette. This wasn't a car for speeding, it was a car for arriving. Whether attending events abroad or meeting international guests, this vehicle delivered Camilla with understated authority. It was practical, plush, and dignified, just like the version of her that began stepping out into the world as Charles's partner, Audi A8L. As Queen Consort, Camilla now often rides in an Audi A8L, a sleek, sophisticated saloon that blends German engineering with royal discretion. The A8L is known for its quiet cabin, advanced safety features, and smooth ride, ideal for long engagements across the country. Inside, there's room to relax, windows to keep the world out, and just enough technology to keep the journey seamless. It's not loud. It's not loud because it doesn't need to be. Like Camilla, it moves with purpose, not noise. Aston Martin DB6 Volante. Now this one's less about Camilla and more about love. The Aston Martin DB6 Volante is Prince Charles's favorite car, and one he's owned since the 1970s. But it has become part of Camilla's story too. They've been seen driving together in this very car, especially on romantic countryside getaways and private events. With its handcrafted leather interior and deep royal blue finish, the DB6 is more than a vehicle. It's a shared memory, a symbol of partnership, of journeys made together, through roads both literal and emotional. Vauxhall Omega. This choice may surprise many. The Vauxhall Omega, a practical British executive car, once served as Camilla's go-to vehicle during early royal appearances. Modest, reliable, and comfortably forgettable. This was the car she used when she wanted to be seen as relatable. No royal fanfare, no grand arrival, just duty. A nod to her ability to play the part without needing the spotlight. Bentley Bentayga, and now the Queen rides high. The Bentley Bentayga, her current vehicle of choice, is a luxury SUV that offers security, stature, and serious comfort. Whether she's traveling to state functions, rural charities, or heading to Balmoral, the Bentayga is her modern-day chariot. With a top speed of 190 miles per hour and an interior crafted by hand, it's both a fortress and a statement. It says, "I've arrived, but I'm still grounded." Each of these cars reflects a different chapter in Camilla's journey, from country girl to queen, from freedom to duty to grace on four wheels. But behind every car door closed, a window opens into a life constantly in motion. So how does all this mobility and her long, winding road to the crown translate into wealth? Royalty often conjures images of gold crowns, priceless jewels, and unimaginable wealth. But Queen Camilla's fortune tells a quieter story, one built not on lavish displays, but on long-standing inheritance, discreet independence, and personal resilience. So what exactly is the net worth of a queen who once drove herself to the shops and lived alone in the countryside? It's estimated that Camilla's personal net worth sits between $5 and $8 million. While this figure pales in comparison to King Charles's royal fortune or the Duchy of Cornwall's vast holdings, it represents something far more intimate: self-earned stability. It's about freedom. It's about control. It's about never having to ask permission again. And with that financial freedom, she's turned her focus outward onto causes, people, and places in need of royal light. Let's now step into a side of Camilla that speaks louder than wealth ever could. The philanthropist, the advocate, the woman who turns privilege into purpose. What turns a royal title into a real legacy? Philanthropy. For Queen Camilla, the answer lies not in jewels or ceremonies, but in the quiet, steady power of giving back. And that journey began not with a ribbon cutting, but with heartbreak. In 1994, Camilla lost her beloved mother, Rosalind Shand, to osteoporosis, a silent, cruel disease that had also claimed her grandmother. The grief was profound, but instead of letting it consume her, Camilla did what few in her position dared to do. She spoke out. That same year, she joined the National Osteoporosis Society. By 1997, she became its official patron, and just 4 years later, its president. She didn't just lend her name, she gave her voice, her presence, her time. She hosted roundtables, led awareness campaigns, and even walked 10 miles around Loch Mook in Scotland alongside children and patients to raise funds, launching the now famous Big Bone Walk, which has since raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. That was just the beginning. Over the years, Camilla's charitable portfolio has grown to include over 100 organizations, each one carefully chosen, many with deeply personal resonance. One of her most powerful missions? Fighting sexual violence and abuse. After visiting a rape crisis center in 2009, she emerged changed. The stories she heard, the pain, the silence, stirred something in her. She began visiting more shelters, hosting survivors at Clarence House, and even shared a disturbing experience from her own youth, being groped by a stranger on a train at age 16. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from a royal, but it mattered. It opened doors for conversation, for change. She collaborated with then-Mayor Boris Johnson to open new support centers. She launched campaigns like Reach In with Safe Lives and personally helped distribute over 50,000 care kits to survivors across the UK. Luxury hygiene bags meant to offer dignity in a moment of trauma. Her efforts culminated in a historic gathering at Clarence House. Victims, activists, prosecutors, and policymakers, all under one roof, all talking openly about rape, consent, and justice. Camilla didn't just attend, she led. Then there's literacy, another lifelong passion rooted in her childhood. A book lover since her father read to her by firelight in Sussex, Camilla has dedicated decades to improving literacy across the Commonwealth. She's the patron of the National Literacy Trust, Book Trust, and launched her own online community, the Queen's Reading Room, a digital sanctuary for authors, readers, and students around the world. She reads to school children, opens tiny phone box libraries, sponsors creative writing competitions for young people, and in 2023 she hosted the first ever Reading Room Literary Festival at Hampton Court Palace, with guests including Judi Dench and Richard E. Grant. Why? Because, as she once said, books are how I learned to be brave. But Queen Camilla's philanthropy isn't just focused on Britain. In Nigeria, she helped open the Mirabel Center, the country's first sexual assault referral clinic. In Montenegro, she partnered with UNICEF to champion child protection. During the Turkish-Syrian earthquake of 2023, she and King Charles quietly donated to relief efforts, as they had during the early days of the war in Ukraine. And her reach extends to the voiceless too. Animals. Camilla is a patron of Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, and in 2011 adopted Beth and Bluebell, two rescue Jack Russells who now roam the halls of Clarence House. In 2025, she took in Molly, a third rescue, from a shelter in Somerset. She's also worked with medical detection dogs, raising funds by bottling honey from her Ray Mill garden and selling it at Fortnum and Mason, every penny going to charity. From osteoarthritis to art preservation, from women's health to homelessness, Camilla's philanthropic footprint is vast, but never vague. It's personal, it's informed, and it's persistent, because this is not a woman who parachutes into causes for publicity. She rolls up her sleeves, she writes handwritten notes to survivors, she cries with them, listens to them, and builds initiatives that outlast the headlines. In the shadow of a monarchy that often felt outdated, Camilla brought empathy. Where silence once reigned, she brought a voice. Where ceremony once dominated, she brought purpose. And in doing so, she redefined what it means to be royal, not just through image, but through action. But who is she when the cameras are gone? When the speeches end and the tiaras are locked away? The answer lies not in her charity events, but in her daily life. Let's step behind the closed doors of Clarence House and Ray Mill one last time And meet the woman who wears the crown at night, in slippers. Personal life. What happens to a queen when no one is watching? Behind the velvet curtains of Clarence House, away from public ceremonies and polished press releases, Queen Camilla lives a life far simpler and far more grounded than many would imagine. Her days begin not with palace fanfare, but with something far more ordinary, a hot cup of Earl Grey tea. Served at precisely 8 a.m., it's often accompanied by toast and honey, sometimes the very honey harvested from her own private garden hives at Raymill House. She prefers peace in the mornings. No aides, no meetings, just her, a newspaper, and a warm patch of sunlight near the kitchen window. Camilla is not one for spectacle. She doesn't host lavish breakfasts or demand luxury at every turn. Her personal quarters at Clarence House are tasteful but modest. Floral curtains, worn armchairs, framed photos of her children and grandchildren, books stacked beside the bed, dogs asleep at her feet. Ah yes, the dogs, Beth, Bluebell, and Molly. 3 Jack Russell rescues who roam freely between Clarence House and Raymill. Beth is the bold one. Bluebell, the gentle soul. And Molly, the newest addition, is known for sneaking scones during afternoon tea. Camilla calls them her furry shadows. They follow her through every hallway, every room, and sometimes even into official portrait sessions. When she's not on duty, Camilla retreats into the hobbies that have sustained her for decades. Reading? Always. She devours novels and memoirs, favoring historical fiction and the occasional crime thriller. Her bedside table holds a constant rotation of dog-eared paperbacks and signed first editions. Sometimes she'll read aloud to Charles. Other times, she escapes into her reading room community, sharing titles with fans across the world. She also adores gardening. At Raymill House, the Queen is often spotted in boots and gloves, knee-deep in the soil, tending to roses and lavender, her hands dirty, her spirit calm. It's said that no gardener at the estate dares move her favorite stone bench beneath the willow tree, because that's where she sits to think, to breathe, to simply be. In the afternoons, she might paint, though she rarely shows her work. Her studio at Raymill is quiet, with soft northern light. Nothing worth hanging, she jokes. But the act of painting is less about result, more about release. And the evenings, they're usually spent with Charles, sharing dinner, often something simple like grilled fish or roast chicken, watching documentaries, listening to classical music, or talking about books. They don't live like monarchs. They live like a couple who, after decades of headlines and hurdles, finally have time on their side. But make no mistake, the Queen is still working. Even off camera, she's reviewing charity briefs, writing thank you notes by hand, and preparing speeches. Her calendar is filled with school visits, hospital openings, literacy awards, and military ceremonies. The difference now is pace. She no longer runs toward duty. She walks with it, shoulder to shoulder, with dignity and control. And when the weight of the crown grows too heavy, she knows exactly where to go. Back to Raymill, back to her garden, back to the rocking chair in her cozy room. Because behind every crown is a real woman. And behind this particular woman is a life quietly, beautifully lived. But before we go, there's one last thing to ask. What will be Camilla's true legacy? A crown? A controversy? Or a woman who, after decades of silence, has quietly rewritten her own story? From the garden bench at Raymill to the velvet halls of Clarence House, Camilla has carved a space for herself, not through grand gestures, but through endurance, compassion, and a deep understanding of who she is. She was never meant to be queen, but perhaps that's exactly why she wears the title so well. Her legacy may never be about revolutions or reforms, but it will be about resilience, about showing that grace doesn't have to shout, that healing takes time, that redemption is possible, even in the spotlight of 1,000 cameras. She's not the fairy tale queen we grew up reading about. She's something far rarer. She's real, and maybe that's why, out of all the palaces, castles, and gilded thrones, it's Raymill House that holds her heart. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of Queen Camilla's 2 homes speaks more to you? Raymill's quiet countryside soul or Clarence House's regal legacy? And what do you think is her greatest legacy? The crown or the causes she champions? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this intimate journey through her private world moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a fellow royal enthusiast, because every queen has a story. And now you've seen hers.